All right, today we're riding shotgun on a really high-stakes investigation. But forget the yellow tape and the footprints, we're talking about pixels and processors. We are diving headfirst into the critical first hour of a digital crime scene, where every single click, every cable, could be the key to cracking the whole case. So, picture this. There's a massive data breach. A corporate network gets hacked, or maybe police find a criminal's laptop. The scene is hot, but it's entirely digital. Who gets that first all-important call? Who's the very first person to walk through that virtual door? Well, that person is the digital forensics first responder. And as you can see, their mission is frankly huge. They've got to find the evidence, lock it down without changing a single bit, and then get it to the lab safely. What's really interesting, though, is this person isn't always who you'd think. It could be a police officer, sure. But it could also be a company's own network administrator, as long as they have the specialized training for this absolutely crucial role.
Okay, let's get into it. Before a first responder can even think about touching a keyboard, they face their biggest hurdle. And believe it or not, it has nothing to do with technology. It's all about getting the legal green light.
And this right here is the bedrock of it all. In the US, the Fourth Amendment is your privacy shield. And the courts have been crystal clear that your effects and your papers, well, that 100% includes your computers, your phones, and all your data. So to get a look inside, investigators have to have proper legal authority.
So how do they get it? Well, there are basically three main ways. First up, you've got simple consent. That's where the owner just says, yeah, okay, you can look. It's super fast, but it's risky, because they can change their mind at any second. Then there's a subpoena. This is a court order that forces a third party, like your internet provider, to hand over records. The big risk here? The suspect might get a heads up, giving them time to wipe their own devices. And finally, you have the big one, the search warrant. This is for law enforcement only, needs solid probable cause, and lets them walk in and grab the evidence without any warning at all.
And this shows you exactly what consent looks like in the real world. It's not just a handshake, it is a formal, legal document. It spells out precisely what can be searched and for how long. And look, it says right there that the person has the right to say no, or even pull their consent back at any time.
Okay, legal hurdles cleared. Now it's time to gear up. A first responder doesn't just roll up with a backpack, they arrive with a specialized toolkit. And every single item is designed to preserve that digital crime scene. Let's take a look at some of the most important pieces of kit. First up, we've got Faraday bags. You can think of these as super high-tech evidence bags for phones or tablets. They basically create a shield that blocks all Wi-Fi, cell, and Bluetooth signals. And why is that so important? It stops anyone, the suspect and accomplice, from remotely wiping all the data off the device before the investigator can get to it. Next, hardware write blockers. These things are absolutely essential because the #1 rule in forensics is you never change the original evidence. This device is like a one-way street for data. It lets an investigator copy everything from a suspect's hard drive, but it physically makes it impossible for even a single bit of data to be written back to the original. It guarantees the evidence stays perfectly untouched. And you know what? Maybe the most important tool in the bag isn't digital at all. It's good old-fashioned paper. The chain of custody form is like the evidence's legal resume. It's a super detailed log that tracks every single person who handles a piece of evidence, from the moment it's seized to the lab and all the way to the courtroom. A single mistake or gap in this chain, the whole case could get thrown out.
All right, we have our legal authority, we've got our toolkit. We are now on the scene. And this is where the pressure really ratchets up. The decisions you make in these next few minutes, they're irreversible. Every single second counts.
So you walk in the door, and there it is, the target computer, and it's on. The screen is lit up. What do you do first? I'm serious. What's the move? This is one of the most fundamental questions in all of digital forensics.
Now, before we answer that, let's talk about the easy scenario. If the computer is already off, the rule is incredibly simple. Leave it off. Do not touch that power button. Turning it on would immediately start changing files, altering timestamps. You could be destroying evidence without even knowing it. You just bag it and take it to the lab, period.
But what if it is on? That's when you jump into the live machine protocol. First, you photograph everything that's on the screen. Then, and this is the most critical step, you capture the RAM, the computer's live working memory. This is a potential gold mine where you might find passwords or chat messages just sitting there in plain text. After that, a quick peek at the network connections. And finally, and I know this sounds crazy, you do a hard shutdown. You don't click the shutdown button, you pull the power cord straight from the wall. Why? because that prevents any self-destruct scripts from running.
So why that exact order? It's all based on a principle called the order of volatility. You absolutely have to collect the most fragile evidence first. The best way to think about it is like a crime scene on a sandy beach. You've got to photograph the footprints before the tide comes in and just washes them away forever. Some digital evidence is just that delicate.
And this hierarchy lays it out perfectly. At the very top, you've got data in the CPU that can vanish in literal nanoseconds. But right below that is the RAM, the computer's short-term memory. It could be full of treasure, chat logs, passwords, encryption keys, but it all vanishes the second you cut the power. And that is exactly why we capture the RAM before we pull the plug. The stuff at the bottom on the hard drive, that's the most permanent.
Okay, the live data has been captured and the machines are all powered down. Now the final on-site phase begins, meticulously preparing the physical evidence for its big trip to the forensic lab.
At this stage, you just cannot document too much. Who was there? What did they do? You photograph everything before you even think about moving it, you sketch the whole layout, and you take incredibly detailed notes. An investigator might have to get on a stand and testify about these notes years later, and their credibility can literally make or break the entire case.
And the packaging itself, it's like a science. You label every single cable and port so you can put the system back together perfectly in the lab. You tape over the power switch so it can't get bumped on by accident. You use special anti-static bags to protect the electronics inside. And then you seal it all up in an official evidence bag that you sign and date.
Even the car ride back to the lab is handled with extreme care. You got to keep the evidence cool, dry, and far away from anything that could damage it, like strong magnets and speakers. It's just a final reminder that even though the evidence is digital, the hardware it lives on is very, very physical. And with that, the first responders' work on site is done. The evidence is identified, collected, preserved, and now it's on its way to the lab. That first frantic hour is over. But now the real question emerges. What secrets are locked inside, just waiting to be discovered?